Let's talk a little bit more about Donald Trump, but in the context of a different story. He has been using Chicago as an example of Democratic policies that have gone wrong. And as we told you earlier in the show today, more shooting deaths this year in the city of Chicago than all of last year. Those numbers really are quite staggering, 425. August also proved to be the most violent month in the city in nearly 20 years. So we do now have the Reverend Jesse Jackson here with his reaction. Reverend Jackson, thank you very much, number one, for coming on. Everybody was going to tell you that those numbers are awful, aren't they, in your city of Chicago? But what's behind it? As I said, Donald Trump is blaming liberal policies, as one of our guests earlier. What do you did the same? What do you say to that?
There are no gun shops in Chicago. There are no gun ranges here. But even a simple background check has been held up by the state Republicans. We've not made a commitment to ban assault weapons, for example. And there are gun runners here who are bringing in guns from Barrington, the suburb, and downstate Illinois, and they're bringing in guns by the truckloads. Guns in, drugs in, jobs out. It's a terrible situation.
See, that is definitely true. In terms of the cause, I've seen some argue that the reason, or one of the reasons that's leading to more gun violence and even more gun use, people carrying guns, is because the policing tactics have changed. Fewer stops, fewer frisks. People feel like, you know what, I'm not going to get stopped by the police, so I'm more likely to have a gun and to carry it. Is that part of it, do you think?
I don't think police are lying down on the job. I think police, you cannot police poverty. The guns are flowing in from the suburbs and downstate, and the drugs are flowing in. And the governor acts as if Chicago is not a part of Illinois. We need a White House conference here on violence, causes and cures, racial and gender disparities, poverty, and a plan for urban reconstruction. Why are there so many abandoned houses and vacant lots? Because the banks target and steal and cluster people, and communities are just torn up. There is no plan for urban reconstruction.
Now, as bad as other cities are, and there are some issues in other cities, Chicago does seem to be the worst of it. There's something, Reverend Jackson, about Chicago, run by Democratic mayors for so long, including Mayor Rahm Emanuel now. So what is it about that city? What is it about the city of Chicago now?
But Chicago mayors are not suppressing wages, for example. The Chicago mayors are against the easy access to guns. So
what is it? What's leading to this, then, in Chicago specifically?
Well, Chicago it's a theater for the gun market. Chicago is the Middle West, and guns are coming in great numbers. That's why there must be some commitment. People cannot sit on their porches. Children cannot go to school, cannot play in the parks. It's beyond the city's capacity to stop it. So the silence of the governor and even the federal government has some obligation. When there was a killing in Orlando and Sandy Hook, the entire federal government moved on it. But there is no commitment to rebuild the infrastructure of inner city. There are eight communities called endangered. There's where employment is above 25%, poverty is above 40%. And we look at it as if it's normal. It is very abnormal and very destructive.
Well, I had a guest on earlier who was making the argument that there is almost, and I've heard this in other cities as well, but in Chicago there's almost a situation where much more attention is being paid by the mayor and others to the places that are bringing in more revenue, that are the places that are higher income in the city, and in the places that have become the black community over the years, there's far less attention being paid there, and the leadership, according to this person, they're just fine with that. No, it's almost like a forced segregation in some ways, and keeping minorities in these communities that are so violent, not doing anything to get them out or help them.
In so many ways, that's true. I mean, the 8 communities are the most locked in, have least access to public transportation where the jobs are, for example. Wages are lower, for example. They really have the working poor. But people are overwhelmed. It shouldn't be much to ask us for gun background checks.
No, I understand that. But isn't that keeping those people locked in? Isn't that an indictment of the current policies? What you're just outlining, isn't it an indictment of current political policies?
Well, the president sought to get mass transit, say, from Madison to Milwaukee to Chicago and south, and that was the mass transit was cut off, for example, as access to jobs. And the fact of the matter is, so long as we're more committed to investing in the Far East and China and the like, and not investing in our cities, we're paying a price. Republicans ignore it because it seems that they can't get votes there, And Democrats oftentimes throw their hands up, but no one can ignore. You cannot isolate the cancer, and you cannot police poverty. We need help desperately.
I will say, and we are running out of time, Reverend Jackson. I'll just say finally that you're saying Republicans are ignoring it, but Donald Trump is paying some attention this week, right, and going into the inner cities. What do you make of that, real quick?
Well, it's a gesture, but we need public policy to protect. People need jobs, health care, housing, and access to capital. Industry, not to visit, but capital, industry, technology, and deal flow. That's what we need.
Reverend Jackson, good to see you. Thank you very much, and everybody agrees these are terrible, terrible numbers in the city of Chicago. Now.